Next passage, let's quickly look at what the passage says. This passage is about a certain law that was passed in Texas. Because of this, what will happen is social media companies or internet platforms, they cannot moderate or they cannot edit or they cannot take down any of the content that has been shared on the platforms, right? So that way, if you take down anything from YouTube, for example, or from Twitter, it is going to be illegal according to this law. Right. Now, the author, the writer of the sentence, and the writer of this paragraph does not agree with this. Right. So therefore, he consults a lot of people, a lot of experts to explain the downsides of this law. Right. There's, for example, one of them one of the experts say that this is basically wrong because now the government authorities can force a media house or an internet platform to put up certain comment because they cannot take it down, so that way they can force certain media houses to they can force them to cover certain politicians or certain other content, because according to this law you cannot moderate the content available on your platform, right? So this is one of the problems, right? Another expert feels that this could amount to a lot of litigation, right? It will unleash a wave of lawsuits against platforms, right? So that way, these are many examples, in fact. So everybody feels that this law will have a lot of negative impacts, right? Now, the author in the end says that this actually puts the entire internet at danger, at risk, right? And it is likely to head to the Supreme Court, meaning this law is probably likely to be challenged. It is going to be reviewed in the Supreme Court in all probabilities, right? And he says that this fiasco, as in this entire fiasco, it touches on the debate. It is also relevant to, or it contradicts this Section 230 Act, right? And it makes it clear that websites have now. So this section says that websites have editorial control, and therefore the new law will be against this, right? So that is why the author says it is probably likely to be reviewed. The wording should be taken care of. I mean, none of the following can be inferred except, which means what can be inferred. So what can be inferred? Virtually the question is what can be inferred. Now, look at this. The new law has put the future of the internet in jeopardy. This is something which is it is clearly given here. Right, I'll show you the line, right, which we can very well understand. Right. Right. So, looking at that answer option, it is also the type of ruling that threatens to blow up the architecture of the internet. Right. The meaning of this line is basically what is indicated very clearly when we look at the eighth question. Right. So, the new law has put the future of the internet. It will blow up the architecture of the internet. That was the line which we read. Right. Blow up means completely destroy, blast. Right. So, of course, it is going to put the future of the internet in jeopardy. Architecture basically means the way the internet is designed. In fact, architecture is, in fact, the nothing else but the entire structure behind it. So, if the structure is going to be blown up, it would not be safe in the future. So, that way, the best answer. It's a symbolic description, of course. So, the best answer is B. Right now, since you have found the answer in the actual exam, you do not need to look at the other options. But here, since for the sake of explanation, we can since we're discussing it for the sake of explanation, we can look at the other options also. Look at A. The new law can never seek to infringe on a person's right to seek redressal. This is something which is clearly wrong. The new law can never seek, right? The new law can seek to infringe on a person's right? Because there was a part where he says that there will be, right? Look at this part. The director of the program told me that such a law could amount to a litigation of denial of service attack, unleashing a new wave of frivolous and serious suits against the platforms. So, if you look at it, this law is not going to, right? So, this law, it will infringe on a person's right to seek redressal, right? because there will be suits against it. There will be there will be lawsuits, there will be cases, right? So that basically means there's going to be conflict. So that way A is something which is against the passage. Look at C. Now, under the new law, a user can express his perspective whenever and wherever he or she they desire. The problem with this, with option C is, when you look at it, whenever and wherever they desire, this is a problem. Whenever and wherever is probably a little bit away from the scope of the passage. In the passage, we are speaking about something which is related to the internet. So whenever and wherever, it could be in the public, could be anywhere, it could be something which is beyond the internet also. So this is why this is irrelevant, right? Now, option D, to section 230 is by and large free of controversy. It is not free of controversy because section 230 is the act which is in confrontation. It is basically in contrast with this new law, which means in that regard, at least, this section is something which is going to come into some kind of a head-on collision with this new law, which means it is not free of controversy, right? So that is what we can